The Vedas are telling us you cannot know him. Why can we not know him? Let's find out. What is the problem with him? The problem is not with him, the problem is with us, the knower. What is the problem with us? Our instruments of knowledge are defective. How do we know anything? Supposing I lift this up and say, what is this? You will immediately say, Swamiji, it's a wristwatch. But how did you come to know that it's a wristwatch? I saw with my eyes. Did the eyes come to know? Eyes cannot know. The eyes only gather the light and pass it to the mind. The mind reads, this is the shape, this is the color, this is the texture, this is the size. The mind also doesn't make a decision. It passes that data to the intellect. And the intellect compares. Oh, it's a similar thing that is on my wrist. I've seen it thousands of times. It's a wristwatch. Tell him. The intellect instructs the mind instructs the mouth, and you speak up. Swamiji, it's a wristwatch. So how did you get knowledge of this? With the senses, the mind, and the intellect. These three are the instruments of knowledge. Any knowledge you want will be through the senses, mind, and intellect. An ant will gather knowledge like that, and Saraswati, Brihaspati will gather knowledge like that. So if you want knowledge of God, you will have to use your senses, mind, and intellect. Now the problem is, our senses, mind, and intellect are material. They are made out of the material energy Maya. And God is not material, He is divine. He is beyond Maya. Ram Swarup Tumhara Vachana Agochara Buddhi Para. So that divine God, our senses, mind, and intellect cannot reach. Let me give you an example. You know, I completed my schooling, my last few years, I was studying in Delhi. So in those days, there was a tradition that in the beginning, before the first beginning of the school, all the children would gather in the assembly yard, and then the principal would address them. So occasionally he would get some VIP to inspire everyone. Now I was studying in grade 5. At that time, you know, India was still developing, so the education level was less, and many of the ministers were quite less educated. On this day, the principal got some Mantriji to the school. So the Mantri came and he asked us the question, Bachcho, आलू का दाम 10 रुपए किलो, बताओ मेरी उम्र क्या है? The price of potatoes is 10 rupees a kilo. Tell me what is my age? We were all confused. If the price of potatoes is 10 rupees a kilo, then what is the age of the minister? There was no formula that we had taught. We tried to remember, what did we learn? Physics, chemistry, mathematics. Now no answer was coming. The minister got annoyed. He looked at the principal. What have you taught them? So again he asked in a louder voice, Bachcho, the price of potatoes is 10 rupees a kilo. What is my age? Now the principal was getting worried. If this minister gets annoyed, he will block the government funds. He was praying and praying and praying. One boy lifted his hand. He said, Mantri ji, your age is 50 years. The minister was so happy. Shabash, very good. You have found it out. Wonderful. He wrote a good report and went off. Later on, the principal called that boy to his office. He said, "My child, you saved the life of all of us today. You have done well for our school. But tell me, how did you come to know that if the price of potatoes is 10 rupees a kilo, then the age of this minister is 50 years?" The boy said, "Sir, I applied a simple computational formula. There is one man who lives in my neighborhood. He is 25 years. He is half mad. This minister is full mad, so he must be 50 years." All right. It is not a subject of the intellect. What will the intellect figure out? Similarly, the scriptures say that God is not a subject of your intellect. Indriyebhya parahyarthartebhyascha paramana manasastu para buddhir buddhir atmavahan para. God is beyond the realm of Maya. With these eyes you cannot see Him. With these ears you cannot hear Him. With this mind you cannot truly meditate on Him. Adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam achintam avyapadeshyam, the Mandukya Upanishad says. He is adhokshaj, beyond the purview of your senses, mind and intellect. See, even material things our intellect is unable to comprehend. If one of these children were put in UT Dallas in the physics class there, pure physics, and they were asked at the end, "My child, what is the professor teaching?" They would say, "I don't know, it's all going over my head." Right? Possibly what Swamiji is saying is also going over the head. Once I asked one little child, "What did you understand in today's lecture?" The child said, "Swamiji, I was counting today, you said 3 times Rasgulla." So the child has got the little intellect. Now, God is infinite. He is divine. How will we grasp Him with our little intellect? There was one sage called Maharshi Panini. He has written the Sanskrit grammar. It is such a perfect grammar that it has not changed since 5,000 years. Once, somebody showed me a paper written by a NASA scientist in 1974. That NASA scientist had written in his paper, which was published, that we were thinking of developing a computer compatible spoken language. However, after studying Sanskrit, I feel there is no need for such a language. Sanskrit is such a perfect computer compatible language. So that Maharshi Panini, who wrote the grammar of Sanskrit, when he wished to learn for himself first, he thought may as well learn from Lord Shiv. So he went to Mansarovar and he was trudging his way up Kailash. Lord Shiv, sitting on Kailash, saw the Maharshi coming and he thought he understood why he's coming. He wants to get knowledge. The Lord Shiv thought that why should he labor all the way to climb up? Let me teach him from far. This was the first instance of distant learning. Nowadays it's become common. Maharshi Patanjali was climbing up. Lord Shiv took his damru in his hand and he made 12 sounds on it. Ayon ril rig eong I ouch hevarat lana yama ngana nama jhabaya gada dasha khapa chatata chatatava kapaya shasha sara hala. See the Sanskrit scholars now. Maharshi Panini heard. He understood, a light went on. He went back and wrote the Sanskrit grammar. If you wish to study it, the complete course was for 12 years. Imagine the genius that he had. Now, if Lord Shiv did this to us, we would not become Shastri. We'd say, I don't have the intellect. So the Vedas say, look, you don't have the intellect to understand God. If you say, I can understand Him, then your intellect must be divine. That is why you can understand the divine God. No, Swamiji, my intellect is material. Then God must also be material. That is why your material intellect can understand Him. No, God is divine, my intellect is material. Then this material intellect can never comprehend the Supreme Almighty. That is why the Vedas are saying, with these eyes you cannot see Him, with these ears you cannot hear Him.